Okay, Article 77.
Okay, Article 77, we had an issue regarding our licenses. Again, I've been town clerk 12 years. In the 12 years that I've been clerk, anybody that has a small kennel or a hobby kennel, they do not do boarding or grooming of dogs. We had an issue where that did happen. I had several people come to me and ask me if we could make it more restrictive. I did meet with Rich Bowen last Friday to make sure that this was lawful. He said it was, that you could make it more restrictive. You just could not make it less restrictive.
Madam Chair?
Yes, please.
It was my understanding that when the Director of Inspectional Services investigated that matter, he gave a written opinion on the hobby kennel license, the difference in what was allowed and what wasn't allowed. And I believe he consulted with Copeland and Page at the time.
I didn't get a copy of his, but I also, like I said, I also sat with Rich Bowen, and Rich explained to me that this was allowed.
I'm sorry. Excuse me, Mrs. Ekstrom.
Do we know how long ago this was? I don't remember seeing it.
Just happened last year. The situation happened last year.
Mr.
It would have
Andrews
been
or
in the
Mr.
spring.
St. Jeanette, do you recall your building inspector at the time asking for permission to talk to council regarding anything like this? Because I don't know if it was with you
I have
or
to check. I'm not certain, but I know that there was a matter that he undertook.
Yeah, but I'm saying if it was that long ago, the current building inspector wasn't there.
Yes, it
yes.
was
Oh, it was the
I
current
think
one?
it happened in between.
It was Miles Burke, I think.
Oh, it was.
I think it happened
Okay,
in
'cause I don't
between
remember
Ted
seeing any of
leaving
this,
and
so.
the issue had started prior to this, but I think
Okay.
the decision, whatever was done, was between Ted, because Ted and I had spoken about it, but I had never spoken to Miles about it.
Okay, because I mean, I'd like to know that, because our department heads aren't supposed to be going to council. They're supposed to be going through you or through this board. So I'd like to know that if we have a decision from council, and I've never seen it.
No,
so.
I didn't say. Mr. Burke wrote the decision, but I do believe that prior to submitting the decision, I do believe that council had reviewed it.
Madam Chair, I could check on that, and once again, this was a matter that was, I think, left behind for Mr. Burke to undertake.
Yes.
If you, I can check the dates as well.
Mrs. Marion, Ms. Silva, if you could, is this a clarification of the bylaw that we currently have? It's an addition to, it's a further restriction on the current
Yes.
bylaw for small kennels.
Because the understanding
hobby
always
kennels.
was that small kennel, hobby kennel did not venture into the commercial end of it.
Right.
That they, in order to, that's why you have a commercial kennel license.
Right.
Thank you. So this is clarifying the difference between a hobby kennel and a commercial kennel.
Small kennel, hobby kennel, and the
Small
commercial.
kennel, hobby kennel, and commercial kennel. And I know that a couple of years ago, we had an issue with a lady who just had she had 5 or 6 small dogs, and
She
had to go get a hobby kennel license.
She had to
but
get a
they
small kennel, I
belonged-
remember
small
the
kennel
lady. Yes,
license,
she had to get a
right,
small kennel.
because there were complaints from neighbors.
I guess I'm just a tad confused. I don't understand kennels in the first place. But the part of me that says if I have a small kennel, and if I have 4 or 5 dogs, right, that's acceptable, and I wash those dogs, would I not also groom those dogs?
For money or
But you're
for-
not getting paid.
That's
The difference.
So small kennel would be Steve Holmes. I have
We have 4 dogs.
4
You want to have
dogs
more than 3 dogs.
at my
you get
house.
a small kennel.
At my house. I would have to go downtown to town hall, even though they're my dogs, right? Is
No,
that what
you
the
would-
idea is?
You would have to apply to the building department
If I want to own 4 dogs.
And you already
for
have
a
to do
kennel
that.
license, if you want a kennel license.
And you have to do that even before this change to the bylaw is written.
So this is not for somebody who owns a business.
That's
Right.
correct.
Well, it says commercial enterprise.
Well, most people that have that are in business that I've experienced have a commercial kennel license. They do grooming, they do boarding, they have, a kennel of 11 or more dogs. They have always had a commercial kennel license.
So anybody, if I read this correctly, then anybody, and I'm just trying to clarify this from my head, anybody who wants to make money off of dogs or make money off of services to dogs must have a commercial kennel.
Correct.
Because a hobby kennel, then you're saying if I want to own, but that also talks
that's
about
what-
sale of dogs, so that is
Right.
commercial. Or is that personal again?
There is a gentleman in
hobby.
West Wayham that has a hobby kennel license, and he does sell dogs he'll do 4, I guess, a year.
Right.
But he doesn't board anyone else's dogs, and he doesn't groom anybody else's dogs.
And he really would have that need the kennel license when the litter comes, so that
Right.
instead of having 1 or 2 dogs, he gets 7 or 8 at a time.
Right.
Because it would just seem to me, if you bathe the dog, you have to groom the dog.
No, I guess, like grooming
Right.
dogs, like when
Yeah.
you go get your hair
Hey, I
cut
know.
and
I
pay
have
$15 for it.
only 2 Maltese, not 5.
But when you're in the shower, it
When
doesn't
they-
cost anything.
When they take a bath, it takes a while to dry them and groom them. I mean, you can't just let that. I guess I'm just confused on it.
I guess
I'm
the
not
only thing I can
understanding.
say to try to clarify it is that a commercial kennel is a commercial kennel. A small kennel and a hobby kennel is not a commercial kennel. You're not there in the business for boarding and grooming of dogs or selling dogs more than 4 times a year. I mean, you're in business when you have a commercial kennel. The rest is a
So I guess
small
that-
kennel or hobby
I
kennel.
would say, so Mr. Holmes, I guess that maybe, and not that we need to do amendments on the floor, but perhaps that you're thinking more or less where it says, like boarding and grooming for a fee, like that's kind of where you're going with it, right? Yeah, I mean,
Well, it just says boarding and grooming privileges for the purpose of commercial enterprise is excluded. Well, if I have a small kennel and it's a personal kennel, it couldn't be a commercial enterprise. If it's only to house my own 4 dogs.
And probably that's right, Mrs. Ekstrom is thinking boarding and
If you-
grooming
if you-
privileges for a fee. Or-
Right, and I wouldn't charge myself. Now, if you look downtown
Right.
and you see there's a new place there where they cut the hair of the dog, right?
Mhm.
Are they a kennel at all?
do
I
they-
would
In
have
other
to
words,
go
it's
back
like a
and check the
dog. It's
records.
like a
They're
dog
not-
barber shop, right? You go in, they give the dog a bath, they cut the dog's hair
If they're not
on
boarding.
Main Street.
If they're not actually boarding.
Boarding, right,
They're not boarding.
right.
So what do? A business certificate? They're not. This doesn't.
Well, if it's a business, they have to do a business certificate,
Right.
yes.
But they wouldn't be considered any of this. This has
Right.
nothing to
They're
do with
not a
those
kennel.
types of businesses.
Right.
Okay, so can I have a motion, please?
I'm in favor of.
I don't understand it, but I guess maybe the townspeople will. Because I know the lady who cuts my dog's hair asked me, and I couldn't explain it to her.
She has a dog grooming business.
But she doesn't keep any dogs there, though.
Right, so she's not a kennel, so this doesn't apply to her.
So it's only if somebody
That
keeps
simple.
dogs overnight. right?
Boarding, there's boarding in every
Boarding.
single
Well, you're
one of
boarding
these.
and you're grooming.
Do you keep dogs overnight? I can't ask you that.
If I may, yeah, I have a kennel, so I get paid for training and boarding. If you have if you get 1 or 2 dogs, you just go individually. Once you pass 3, it's more economical for you as a breeder yourself to get a small kennel or a hobby license, because now you can keep a pack of dogs, where after 3 you need a kennel. So it's just more advantageous for you to get a kennel license than 6 dogs individually. At least that's where it was before. And for this going up to $10 for commercial, I've been paying $150 since I don't know when.
You're going to pay, what, 160?
Yeah,
Can you spare it?
Okay, could we, I hate to rush along the,
Well, here's a case where Walter can help to clarify something. He's in the business. He's
Sure.
not voting one way or
If you
another.
had 5 dogs and you groomed them